Hello. Many of you know me as a big time member. Many of you know me as a humanitarian, citizen, disability, education, business, and um, advocate essentially of the fact that I do my own aspect of advocating. I thought I'd make a video and to start reading what what I wrote in remembrance of, and of course, this would be in a sense, I guess, in the sense of a tribute to Kenny Rogers. I can say that with the fact that I didn't know Kenny Rogers personally, but what I knew of him, um, every song that he did, practically, even um, when I was at a concert that my aunt took me to. Um, I noticed that he put every bit of himself, heart and what have you, um, in the songs that he sang, in which I will read what I wrote in regards to what what um, what what I wrote anyways when I heard that he passed away within this year of 2020. Here it is. I remember my very first country music concert when Kenny Rogers um, sang in the same concert auditorium as Roy Clark. And my aunts took me to see Kenny sing. I can say that I will never forget that, and I have never forgotten that. He always sang from the heart. That is the first thing that makes a person a good singer. Also, I know he was a good man and a good father. I don't know him personally, but I have known to be a good singer with as much heart as he put in his songs. The ones that he sang when essentially even the ones that he sang when I went to see him in concert, there has to be something deep within each of us, even Kenny, to be not only a good singer and performer and person in what can and does connect with a good, loving, caring father as well as a loving, caring person. Kenny Rogers was my first favorite and still is my favorite country music singer, as he was when I was younger than I am now. Kenny Rogers will be loved, missed, and always remembered by myself and many others that knew him personally and those that didn't that did not know him personally. I thank my aunts for taking me to see Kenny Rogers in concert when I was young, And I thank you, Kenny Rogers, for what you have given each of us, both fans, listeners, and more all over America to start. Kenny Rogers, you will be loved and missed and always remembered for all time. Your gift to the world will remain within all of us. May Heavenly Father keep you safe and loved and keeps reminding you of all the outpouring love and thanks from all of us and things that you have given all of us. And we will also keep your songs and your gift and you, Kenny Rogers, in our thoughts and within our hearts forever. That one I wrote yesterday after I heard that he passed away. And it wasn't due to the coronavirus, thankfully. It was of natural causes. I remember, I can tell you, I don't remember where the concert auditorium was, but I know it was within the same state that I am in now. I know that it was around, I believe it was around the 1980s. Um, and like I said, he did play alongside Roy Clark. And in between the songs, I do remember also, in which I didn't mention in the thing that I wrote, um, that he would joke around, which is okay, which was good. He would joke around with the audience, and mentioning, of course, that a certain gender of the audience, be that, of course, a woman or a female, essentially, or whichever the case, however you want to put it, um, looked at his butt, and everybody laughed at that. Of course, with the fact that people started taking pictures and whatnot. But of course, I know that my aunt and my aunts and myself took some pictures too, if I remember right. I'd say the very first song that I heard of his actually, on record or on vinyl, if you want to call it that, um, was the Gambler song. This actually is what I still remember that I called it. Of course, I had a small record or small vinyl record, if you will, of one of his hits called "Of Lady." I took it as his own creation, although I remember he sang. I remember seeing it yesterday on YouTube that he sang the same song or something like the same song, I guess, or identical to it, of what Lionel Richie sang. But of course, that was when he had a full I guess Elvisy type hair, I guess, if you want to call it in the country sense, I guess, country singer sense, I guess. Um, and a full beard and mustache, And if I was any younger, I'd consider it like Santa Claus. Um, if I was any younger than I was at the time, then I would have probably. Um, but I know as much heart as he did put in each of his songs, even the ones that I have not heard yet. Although the ones that I have heard before, um, his new age, if you want to call them new age songs, uh, I'd say he had to have put heart into it with as much feeling as each singer puts into their songs. You have to also have a true feeling, a true positive essence within you to do that, to have such strong emotions and essence of sorts, if you will. And with Kenny Rogers, I know, as I said, what I wrote there, he had to have been a good father, and in fact, I have faith that he was actually, even though I didn't know him personally. But what I know of him of listening to his songs, that to me, at least, that to me said that showed that he put all of himself, practically almost all of himself, if not fully all of himself, and his true emotions and how he felt, even while singing those songs. He had to be a good father. Although I know that even children tend to kind of go back and forth in their own emotions when it comes to their parents. But I mean, that's to be expected, really, to because I know that even children want to find themselves. I'm sure Kenny Rogers wasn't any different when he was younger, before he became a well-known, famous country star, country music singer, essentially. And before he decided to do that, I'm thinking that he might have had other thoughts and of what he wanted to do with his life, and in his life, essentially, like we all do. If I had the chance to actually meet him and talk with him, even as a young child as I was, I'd probably be flustered at that age, not even sure what to say. Starstruck, I guess you would call it too. Um, but the one thing that I've always remembered, even though I don't remember where the concert auditorium was, in what city it was in or what county it was in, which I'm thinking it was probably still in the Alameda County, but I could be wrong too. I don't know. Um, One thing, though, is that I will always remember, and I have thanked my aunts for taking me there when I was young. Of course, I don't know if I thanked them when I was younger, uh, but I do thank them with the fact that I remember that to start. Would I listen to his music if even if I didn't go to the concert? I'd say yeah, because aside from all the country singers over the years, with the fact of it, with in addition his friend and the very person that he sang with many other people besides Lionel Richie. But I think the one he sang with the most, I think, was Dolly Parton. Now she has some good songs, and I heard at least a certain number of them. One of them being "Working 9 to 5." But I know that I saw a video yesterday. The same video I saw yesterday was it had her video that she did on I think Instagram or something. Um, in remembrance of Kenny Rogers, of how she felt, and more of when she heard that he that Kenny Rogers passed on. I didn't know about it until I didn't know that he passed on until I saw the video yesterday. I thought he was still alive and well. Granted, I didn't know he was about to retire at some point. As I saw one other video that he said he was about to go into the points of retirement on the same day that I saw of his passing. Both on YouTube, by the way. Um, and then I started listening to his songs. I remember one of them being "The Gambler" and one of them being "Lady." One in concert that he sang and that he said that was Lionel Richie's, and of course one of his albums of "Lady," of the song "Lady." Anyway, uh, and I know he looked a lot different from what I remember. Of course, that's to be, I guess, in some respect, I guess. Now that I think about it, it's to be expected of all of us, though. Really, over time, we will our styles and looks will change over time, and they do, but not to the extent that at least the way I thought that it wouldn't really change too much as it did for Kenny Rogers. Kenny Rogers had a certain look of him in the 1980s that I remember. And then right when I saw it, the way he looked, I'd say within the 1990s or millennium or something, he, completely different, completely different. Like I said, that that has to be to the points of more than expected because we can't always stay the same, have the same look and what have you all through our life, although there are some people that have, to some extent, that I've noticed anyway. Um, but of course, eventually, there's going to be a number of times where we remember people as they were, such like Kenny Rogers, and then to where they, like years later, well, we may not, we may not recognize. I don't know. I can't really say if the way he was before he passed away, if he were to sing the songs that I remember him singing, which was a very small number, obviously, because I don't remember too much of it yet. Aside from the goings on of what went on in the concert of the auditorium, essentially. Um, I remember little bits and pieces of that, but of the songs that I remember hearing, even on vinyl or record, um, I know that I know that those songs will always be his gift to us. Essentially, his gift was shared with us. We can put it that way as well. Of how he felt as he sang each song, as much heart as he put into the song, much of himself that he also put into the songs. I can say that each of us, both listeners and fans alike, although I can say I'm a fan, but maybe not to the points of memorabilia, I guess. Although if I did go to that aspect of memorabilia, then it'd be almost a full fledged, like I am a full fledged fan of Star Trek, for example. But the one thing is, Kenny Rogers had something that to me anyway. I'm not gonna, and I'm not trying to put him on a high pedestal over every other country singer, but to me, he had more of a positive essence, if you will. He had something that no other country singer would be able to reach, or even to master, or to do better than, essentially. I mean, not even Garth Brooks. And I know Garth Brooks would probably say that he wouldn't be trying to um to outdo Kenny Rogers because he had some respect with about him for Kenny Rogers, I'm sure, in his own way. But even the group of Alabama wouldn't be able to outdo Kenny Rogers. I'm not gonna say if they even tried or even attempted to, but in fact, I don't think any country singer tried to outdo or outperform Kenny Rogers. Because they had their own style and way about them too, about each one anyway. Of course, I never really took too much into the others except for Kenny Rogers. It could be because if I did, then I wouldn't be able to. I'd probably feel that I wouldn't be able to have as much of a strong memory as I do, strong positive memory as I do about Kenny Rogers. Even when I first saw him in concert, even though I remember Roy Clark sang a few songs too, but um, of what I do remember of that concert that I went to my aunts took me to when I was, I'd say, 7, 8 years of age or something, or even 6 possibly. Um, but I know it was a single digit elementary school age anyway. Um, that of that concert I do remember was full on, without question. I remember the only person I remember fully was Kenny Rogers. It could have been the way he sang something, like I said, from the heart, or it could be that he took the time to even talk with the audience a little bit as he sang, and in between singing the songs that he sang of his essentially. Or it could be with the aspect of the human mind, you only can go so far, and even over the number of years, you can only remember so much. That can be true on any level, really. Doesn't matter what age you are either. Although it's believed that when you get older, much older than I am, even, that you don't remember too much or as much as you may have thought you would, or may have thought you did remember, or even when you were of elementary school age. And although it could be the fact that with and it's and I can say it's normal and it's acceptable that with all the things that we do in our life, how can we be, I'd say, expected to remember so many things that happen in our life. I mean, we can't be Commander Data from Star Trek: The Next Generation, where we remember everything that we're exposed to. We're only human, as it were, as I am. As much as I am, I'm only human as well. But I can say with what I've told at least one of my aunts, anyway. She's surprised. She was surprised that I remembered what I remembered when I when I talked with her when she took me to birthday dinner, which I do thank her for that as well. I did thank her for that actually, even on the same night. Um, the one thing is I keep praying in my own way, of course, without kneeling down and everything, but I do pray that each of us, even those who only listen to his songs on the radio and record or A track or or tape or CD or probably a mixture of all, as well as record or vinyl. Um, I do pray that we will always remember him, no matter what we go through and no matter how old we get. one thing is I've always known is that the better we take care of ourselves, the more we can remember. The the better we, well, I wouldn't say really the better, but the more we stay positive within ourselves and also vocally as well as within the mind and of thought and what have you. That strengthens us in such a way that we don't even realize it. We don't even know how or why. I know. But I'd say I know with that, it would be one of many things to keep our memory alive of Kenny Rogers and many others, even within our family members. I can say that even before I found, even about a more than a year before, um, I heard about it, of course, before this year, of course, when I heard about Kenny Rogers passing. I can give you an example of the strong remembrance of things, and that is of what I remembered of a certain number of my certain number of my family members, and I'm not going to go too much into that. Um, but I'd say with what I knew, what I remembered of many of my family members, of the, and believe it, all of it's positive, strong, emotional, and all that. But what I can say is that I do pray that Heavenly Father will keep reminding and showing Kenny Rogers when he after he goes through the base of judgment, of course, as we all will when our time's up on this planet. I keep praying that they will that that Heavenly Father will keep showing and reminding Kenny Rogers of the outpouring of every positive emotion, feeling, and whatnot, of remembrance and vocalization when it comes to and even about Kenny Rogers that has been and will be ever said about him. Even what I just said of him and am saying about. The one thing also is that I know that Kenny Rogers had to be a good father. With as much as heart as he put into his songs, I know just like Donald J. Trump is, that I believe Donald J. Trump is. He's a father first. Okay, like for example, Donald J. Trump would be a father first, businessman second, president third. Although in this current case, he could be a father first, president and businessman, or president second, businessman third. It always goes with the parental aspect first. Although those who are uncaring, and I don't like to say this, but those who are uncaring probably would switch it around for their own selfish benefit, and I know that's not good. So I know that even with Kenny Rogers himself, he put fatherhood for being a father first, country country singer and country performer, if you will. Second, that right there, that right there, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, and that right there, basically is the pause, and it's always a positive. I'm not saying that he was. I'm not saying that he wasn't a good singer before he became a father. I'm not saying that at all. But I can't say. I'm not going to say that I have to believe this, but because that wouldn't be really good. But I strongly believe within myself, in order to be a good father, and you can still be a good father regardless. But a good father always puts himself and his heart, as well as what his knowledge, essentially, um, into being a good, a loving, caring father, essentially. And but of course, it has to that comes from within the person themselves, now doesn't it? Outside of their possible profession, whatever the profession may be. And I'd say that Kenny Rogers showed that of himself um, in his song. And I can say with that thought and feeling that each time we sing, each time we sing along with his CDs or vinyl records, or even on the radio, even while listening to him on the radio anyway. In some way, we will always remember that, and I do hope that we do. I do pray that we do. Will there be another one like Kenny Rogers? Oh hell no! Nobody can replace anybody in reality. In all logic, nobody can replace anybody. Much like when it comes to when a mother and marries a new man, the children automatically think that their original father is being replaced. You can't replace them. You can't replace um another person. Doesn't matter, no matter what you do or even try to do or even attempt to do. Logically, nobody can be replaced. Not even a child's father can be replaced. Mm, that's more than impossible to do, to the points to where it's not even done in all reality and logic. It's not even done. It is understandable of when children think that even before they ask that, if their father or mother's being replaced. But you can't really replace anybody. Even with a new person in one's life or a possible new person in one's life, you can't replace anybody, no matter who it is and why. What we know of each person will always stay with us. as long as we wanted to, and as much as we wanted, and for many other reasons beyond that, and many other aspects even beyond that. Why did I bring that up? It just came to me. It just came to me, really, because everybody goes, there will never be another person like so and so, or there will never be another person, and then suddenly, and like years later, then they try to say that, like in sports, for example, they say that he outdid so and so on this play, on that play, or whatever. You can't really outdo nobody. You can't really outdo anybody. Each one has their own ability um, within themselves that nobody else has. Heavenly Father has always given us our own ability and knowledge and know-how and and we can use it or not use it. We can acclimate it in some way or another or not. Our choice. Be that, of course, what I mean by acclimating, we can use it in the sense of that doesn't have to do with sports or doesn't have to do with uh, performing in plays or singing songs in concerts or uh, or anything. Just as long as we're ourselves, that's the important thing, right there. As long as we stay true to ourselves, especially, and stay ourselves, regardless, even if people cannot accept us for who and how we are. What matters is how we feel about and for ourselves, and about ourselves, and within ourselves. Much like Kenny Rogers felt about him. So, granted, yes, he has also expressed how he felt about each of his fans and those who have listened to him and have talked to and with him essentially in his career, even possibly even before his career. The one thing is also we can never, never, never forget. Much like Kenny Rogers never forgot. In many ways, no matter what goes on, no matter why things happen, always be true to yourself. Love yourself. Respect yourself. Have faith and confidence and self assurance and you know, self confidence and self assurance within yourself. Essentially, that and also, you want to call self endurance, I guess, in the sense of keeping fit, but self confidence, self assurance, belief, faith, and love and understanding for yourself and within yourself. Every positive emotion and feeling within yourself. Well, emotions are feelings, but But the basic fact is have everything positive within yourself and keep it within yourself regardless of what is said about you. I know there probably been many things said about Kenny Rogers even before he became famous that were not so good, not really positive at all, but he dealt with it the best way he knew how. And I do know that we do deal with the best way we know how, but as young kids, we don't deal with it the best way all the time. We always have to feel that we go into defending ourselves in the sense of fighting, and fighting doesn't really solve a thing. Although as children, as teenagers, we may think that it does, but it doesn't. Because it just makes things a lot worse. But all in all, you could say that I learned this and much, much more from listening to Kenny Rogers. Although, in some way, I've learned a lot of what I've voiced out. Even before I knew of Kenny Rogers, even after I knew of Kenny Rogers. But it still rings true, doesn't it? Well, to end this though, this video anyway, in final thought, if you want to put it that way, I guess, is that just like we hope for ourselves, we can put on the same aspect for Kenny Rogers, for and about Kenny Rogers. That what he has given the world, starting with America, the United States of America anyway, um, his fans and the listeners and more alike, and the ones that he knew and the ones that knew him, is always a positive memory emotionally as well as personally and non-personally. And each of his songs will accentuate that in his own in the way he knew how to, the only way he felt that was necessary and needed for him in order to give himself within the song. Granted, you don't have to give too much of yourself, but I don't think he really did. I think Kenny Rogers gave enough of himself to know that for each of us listeners and fans to know that he had real true feeling as he sang each song from the beginning of his career as a country music singer performer all the way to his final days. But all in between that, we should always keep also within ourselves that in many ways that I know at first we think that that singers do it for themselves, right? But I don't see that of Kenny Rogers at all. He he did what he liked and he loved it, and therefore over time he saw how many people enjoyed listening to it and loved it as well as him. I'm sure that they more than enjoyed hearing him and seeing him sing it, both in concerts and radios and television appearances and such like that. The one thing is, we always remember him in our own positive emotional way, and I think that's what he would want. In fact, I know that's what he. In fact, I know that's what we would all want of ourselves, especially, isn't it? Something very strong and positive. Isn't it? Although I know many people think, oh, we have to do many more positive things in order for that to happen. Technically, we can still be positive in ourselves, emotionally, psychologically positive, and still be ourselves. Even if those same positive things that we do for ourselves as well as for other people, many people may not understand why, or may even agree of how it's being done, but the end result is always a positive, right? Or always leads to a pause, or it can always lead to a pause. That's the truth. And of course, the only one way it can do is believe, as long as we believe in ourselves and believe that we can do good for people as well as good, more than good for ourselves, especially. And I think that's another thing that Kenny Rogers would want us to keep in mind as well. And I believe Heavenly Father would want us to keep in mind as well. Heavenly Father would want us to keep that in mind as well. Kenny Rogers will always be remembered as a good singer, performer, a good person, and those who knew him personally will also know him to be also a good father and a good person, genuine, heartfelt, as much as he was in his songs, maybe more than he was in his songs, or equal, or it could be somewhere on the same level down the line. However we look at it and feel and think of it, I know that he will accept it because he knows that it's coming from our hearts. And I know Heavenly Father will also bring that to his attention. So, Kenny Rogers, thank you for what you have given us. Thank you for your songs that and your gift to us and your fans and listeners and your family members and your other fellow friends and constituents. And do know Heavenly Father will always remind Kenny Rogers he will that always Kenny Rogers will always be remembered, loved, cherished, and missed. That he will be always remembered, loved, cherished, and missed. And his gift and songs will stay with us for all time. Have a good day, ladies and gentlemen.